Hello and welcome back. Today we're looking at an old Bachmann Class 08 shunter. Now, why am I looking at this and why am I specifically reviewing it? Good question. With a simple answer. Bachmann, not that long ago, released their brand new tooled Class 08 and 09 shunters with a bunch of new features, auto uncouplers, loads of lighting and everything. But they were really expensive. At £178.45p at the retailers for a new DC only loco, that's a lot of money. And most people, I think, already have a Class 08. And if they don't, that's a lot of money to drop on one loco, a loco that is quite small. So I thought, let's have a look at my older Class 08 from the early 2000s and see how well it stands up. So let's get it out of the box. That's right. I got it out earlier. Yes, this is my Bachmann BR Black Class 08 shunter. And it's a hefty bugger, let me tell you. Let me just pop that down. This is the Bachmann 32-110 08 diesel shunter 13029 BR Black early emblem hinged door type. For all the people that wanted that information. Yes, so this is, as I say, early 2000s, and I've got to admit, it's an absolutely lovely little loco if I bring it up. Now, a couple of the things this won't have that the newer locos will is the new, painting and tampo printing technology, just because it didn't exist when this was made. But what it does have is it's heavy, it's got a chunky motor, and it runs really smooth, really slow, really well. And I wanted to talk about it, because this loco, or a version of this loco, of this tooling, you can find on eBay from anywhere in the £60 to £100 range, depending on which livery and whether it's DCC fitted. Which brings me on to the major downside to this older tooling. It's not DCC ready. If you want to DCC fit these, you need to hardwire the connection, which isn't very difficult if you know what you're doing or if you're confident. Because it's as simple as unsoldering two wires from the motor, popping in your decoder, soldering the pickups to the decoder and the decoder motor wires to the motor. Really simple. But I understand that some people don't want to make that effort. So if you're a DCC only and you're not comfortable with hardwiring a decoder, this isn't for you. But if you're a DC user or feeling confident to use a soldering iron and you're a DCC user, these locos could be a great alternative because you can DCC sound fit one of these for less than a brand new DC Class 08 from Bachmann. But let's have a look at see what features does this have and how does it actually compare? Because maybe you really want those auto uncouplers. This obviously doesn't have it. Maybe you want that really extensive lighting suite. This doesn't have that. But what it does have is at its core exactly what you need a Class 08 shunter to be. And that brings me on to reason number 2 of why I'm making this video. Because model railways is expensive, especially if you're only buying new locos. I say for less than £100, you can have a fantastic model that looks the part and runs the part. And I don't feel like this is being talked about enough. So let's talk about this loco. Well, as I mentioned, it doesn't have a DCC socket. But what it does have is exquisite tampo printing, as you can see there on the crest, on the clean, crisp lines on the number. And if we flip it over, you can see the detail on the gauge on the side of the loco. It also has, these look to be, these are plastic handrails on the side. As you can see, a couple of mine have broke because, again, these are plastic, which is something the newer model has over this. It has more durable metal handrails. It also has these prototypical step ladders on the front, really nicely molded grills on the front of the loco, and on the side. Again, these aren't metal though, these are plastic. The body itself is made out of plastic. It does have very nicely applied see-through plastic in the windows. Glazing, that's the word I'm looking for. It has very nice glazing. And next to the door, we have more handrails. These ones do feel metal. So it does have some metal handrails. And one thing this does have that the cheaper Hornby Railroad Class 08s don't have, and I think this is really important to at least, it doesn't feel like a Class 08 without this one feature, and that is the side rods that extend out the side. This has the prototypical side rods. The Hornby Railroad Class 08s, for instance, which you can get, I believe, like £50, £60, have the standard 060 couplings, which don't look right to me. But if you're not fussed about that, that is another excellent option for a cheaper Class 08. I shouldn't say cheaper, because they're not cheap. A better value Class 08 if you don't care about these extra features. And while we're on about features, let's have a look at the buffer beams. As you can see, sprung buffers. I don't have the original accessory pack with this, so I don't know if it came with the coupling chains for the hook on the front, or I would assume it did come with the buffer beam detail to put into those holes on the front, and then there's some on the back. But as I said, I didn't get the accessory pack with this, so I can't say for certain. So 3-link couplings, maybe, based on the holes in the buffer beam, I would assume that it did come with vacuum pipes and that sort of thing. But now, let's just open this up real quick so we can have a look at the mechanism. Now, to remove the body for this loco, there's 3 screws. 2 at the back here and here, and 1 at the front just here. So I'm going to very quickly remove those, and then the body should just come off. One thing I forgot, but it's also worthwhile to keep note, the 2 screws at the back use a larger sized Phillips screw than the one at the front. So I'm going to have to quickly go find my screwdriver kit so I can find the correct size for that one. Now, I'm a little bit ashamed to tell you quite how long that took me to find, but I should now have somewhere a screwdriver the correct size to take this apart. There we go. So I've had to use a small flat blade to get that out. And the good news about having this down here is I can use it as a parts tray. Just grab these, there we go. And last one, which is nearly out. There we go. That keeps the screws safe. Then this should just gently prise apart, he says. There we go. And there is our mechanism. So we've got a very chunky motor there, a brass flywheel onto what looks like a nylon gear. Oh, actually no, just plastic. Anyway, the reason that's important is a brass flywheel, very durable, very hefty, gives us a little bit of flywheel effect. But because we're using a plastic gear next in the gear train, that means you're not going to get the grinding or loud sounds you get from older motors and older locos. So that, excellent, keeps it very quiet. But then on the other side of the motor, we have just got a chunky flywheel, which explains why this loco has such a fantastic flywheel effect. Now, at one point, mine was Hornby 01 fitted, which, if you don't know, is an old form of DCC. If you'd like to know more about that, let me know down in the comments. I'll do a video on it. I do have a full Hornby 01 setup, so I can show it off. But because of that, I had to remove the decoder and resolder the pickups. But yes, that's our chunky motor. And as you can see, there isn't a DCC socket in here. So it's this wire here, and then on the other side, this wire here to the pickups. They're the wires you would have to intercept and install your DCC decoder between the pickups and the motor along these wires. But now we've had a look inside, let's put this onto the track and see how it handles. So here we have the Class 08 shunter on the track. Now, we're first going to test it on radius 4 curves, but let's be honest, this is a little 060. It's not going to have any problems on 4th radius curves. But before we send it on to the challenge of the 1st and 2nd, let's double check everything is good by testing 4th. So, first things first, let's test the slow speed. And now again, I'm using a standard Bachmann train set controller, because whatever this can do, any other controller on the market will also be able to do, so it's a good point to test. So I'm going to slowly turn up the power and let's see when it starts moving. Just cracking 10% on it. Going up to 20. Oh, look at that. Turn it down a touch. That is so slow. I'm going to change directions. That is some low speed. That is a fantastic crawl. Oh, that's kicking in around 20% on the controller. That crawl is slow enough for anything. Shunting, careful coupling, those are kind of the only two things I can think of for crawling like that, but that is fantastic. There is no reason I can think of that you need to go slower than that. Ooh, dirty spot on the track. Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. Now, while we're on the subject of testing it, I'm going to pull it back, send it through at a high speed, and then turn off the power so we can see that flywheel effect in action. Okay, are we ready? Here we go. That is nice. Ooh. Send it back again. Let's do it again. And off. That is very nice flywheel action. It's a bit harder to do with the Bachmann controller. There isn't an offsetting, so I'm just turning it down a bit fast. But that is very nice. But now, let's turn it up to about 30% and send it on around the layout real quick. I'm going to go free cam. I'm going to go free hold with the camera, and I'll show you how it goes. Here we are, just coming around 4th radius curves. As you can see, that's very slow and controlled. And we're at 30% power, so this is about 4 volts on the track right now. Nice and slow. Tell you what, the black on this makes it really difficult to film, because this has a really nice matte effect on it. Not the most realistic. You'd expect a bit of sheen on it, because these Class 08s were made from metal. But regardless, it does look fantastic. Look at it go. And there you have it. 0 problems with 4th radius curves. Did we really think there was going to be problems? No, this is a little 060 engine around very broad curves. Of course, that's not going to be a problem. But now, it's time to test it on 1st and 2nd. I believe Bachmann says this is rated for 2nd radius curves, but I see no reason why an 060 of this size shouldn't be able to do 1st radius curves. So this is going to be the big test. Something I forgot to mention before when I had it open is that this loco does have all-wheel pickup. So it is 3 wheels on each side, which is good because this loco needs it. There looks like there is some couple of dirty spots on my track. So this is going to be a real test of how reliable the mechanism and pickups are. So I'm going to send it off. I'm now on the HM4000, so I'm not going to get quite the smooth control I had before. And that's about as slow as I can get. So again, I'm going to go free hold with the camera, and we'll see it go around. Yeah, as you can see, it's going a bit faster now. But it's coming round across the Pico small radius points. No problem with those. Just to remind people, or if this is the first video seeing of mine, I do use electrofrog points, so there should be 0 problems with this crossing my points. And it's just completed the lap with no assistance, so that means it has successfully navigated 1st and 2nd radius. Oh, is this just a dirty spot on the track? Oh. I might have a dirty spot on the track. We'll let this go around again. If it sticks there again, I'll give it a quick clean. But yeah, that's first radius it's on right there, no problem. Again, back to the small radius points, not even stuttering across them. That's the first radius curve right there. On to second, 0 issues. Coming back around across the Unifrog point, across my double slip, which is actually Insole Frog. The double slip is Insole Frog. Ah, it has stuck there again. Let me just double check what's going on and I'll get back to you. Whew. So, we're back. The issue with the stuttering, I've tried out a couple of other locomotives. It does look like it's an issue with my track laying. I was fettling with the point over there, and it seems I've disrupted a bit of a track, and now there's a bit of a dip, so locomotives are losing contact with the rails when they go over it. So it's not an issue with the locomotive. In fact, I've got to give props to the locomotive. Sometimes it was only getting one wheel contact on this side of the track, so that's actually pretty damn good. So I'm not going to penalise the locomotive for that. It's not really its fault. It's my track's fault. So, with that said, it's managed to navigate all of the track, even track it probably shouldn't be able to navigate, it's managed to do, which is fantastic. This locomotive is a fantastic little runner. It doesn't quite couple perfectly all the time. I'm willing to say that's probably due to aging on the NEM pocket, but all these locomotives, at least of this tooling, are going to be old, so that's something to keep in mind, that the NEM couplings might struggle with coupling first time all the time. They might need a resetting to the centre. This can probably be alleviated with just replacing them, but it is something to keep in mind if you're going to look at buying one of these for yourself. Well, I guess all that leaves now is to run some trains. Let's roll the footage. So, there we have it. The old tooling Bachmann Class 08 from the early 2000s. I think this performed extremely well. Now, I have to admit, mine does need a little bit of TLC, which is something I haven't mentioned yet, but it really does need to be said about these older models. Most of the time, the lubrications have been changed, it's never had any oil added, there can be gunk in the axles or in the gear train, so they do need some TLC. And that's not just with these models, that's with every second-hand model. You just don't know the life they've had beforehand. And even some people say they're a runner, doesn't mean they will be. So it's worth keeping in mind when you're looking at these older models. But assuming you have one that's been taken care of, or you are able and confident to give it an oil change and clear out the gears and everything, for between 70 to £100, these are just a good deal. They perform well, they've got reliable pickups, and overall they're just a great little model. They look the part, they run the part, and what else can you really ask for? Overall though, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Why 7 out of 10 after everything I've said? Well, it's mainly for the factors it's missing a couple of features that you'd really want on a modern locomotive. If this was released today, it would be getting a much lower score because it's lacking features like a DCC socket. But this model is 20 years old, and in the UK, DCC wasn't prevalent yet. So we have to allow some, wiggle room for the fact this is an older model, but it still needs to keep up with today's standards. So that's why a 7 out of 10. If you can find these for around the £70 mark, they are a solid buy. Just the fact it has that chunky flywheel and very well geared running, you just can't beat it with some of the newer, more cost-effective Class 08s on the market. So once again, I want to thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. This is my second locomotive review, but it is my first older locomotive that I'm reviewing. So if you enjoyed, leave a comment and a like, and if you want to see more from me, hit subscribe. If there's anything I missed that you'd like to see, again, let me know down in the comments, let's have a discussion. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I do hope to see you in the next one.